Welcome to the Lead with Impact podcast, where we help leaders reset, recharge, and lead with clarity. I'm your host, Michael Dillard, retired U.S. diplomat, veteran, and leadership coach. On this show, we explore the 4 pillars of leadership that make or break leaders: listening, empowering, adapting, and developing. Because when leaders lead better, organizations thrive. Guess what, y'all? Today, I'm honored to have April Halliburton. She brings an incredible perspective on leadership and resilience with over 15 years of HR experience. And I know this conversation will bring you real value. Let's start with this. April, what's the one leadership mistake you see over and over again that quietly destroys teams because of burnout?
I think thank you again for having me on the show, Michael. I truly, truly appreciate it. It is a delight. So I hope I can definitely bring value to your audience. And so one mistake that I see in leaders that exhibits burnout is listening, the lack of listening. So it's very important that leaders are listening to what their employees are saying. Leaders will exhibit burnout by having like a lack of decision-making skills, if that makes sense. And that's because they're tired, they're burnt out. And so one way they can actively, make sure that they are addressing the needs is to actually listen to what their team is saying. And in conversations, repeat the questions that are being asked of them before they answer so that they understand exactly what the opposite person or their team member is asking. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. So with that, I have a follow-on question for you.
Real leaders making impact. CEO leaders making impact. Great leaders making impact. Listen up to make a real impact. It's a real game changer if you want to lead. Real leaders break it down like this.
Yes. Why do you think most leaders believe they're good listeners when their team would probably say otherwise?
That is a great question. Michael. And I think it's more so because leaders have so many things going on. And sometimes their pride might be in the way. They may, again, be burnt out. So they feel like they're listening to respond as opposed to listening to understand. And so when team members ask questions, they immediately jump in with an answer, right? So they think that they are hearing what the team member is asking, but the team member obviously knows that that's not what I said. Yes.
So a question that also comes up is micromanagement. So question, is micromanagement just disguised fear? And how can leaders break that cycle?
That is an excellent question. Micromanagement is one of the quickest way to lose great talent.
Ooh, I think you got to repeat that one again.
Yes,
Ooh.
Absolutely. Micromanaging is one of the quickest way to lose top talent. When you have team members that are in positions, you have to trust their judgment, their decision-making skills, and trust them to do the job that you know they can do. So leaders have to lead. And so it's important that as leaders, they are trusting the decisions that their team members, their team leads, their employees are making, right?
Okay. How does that show up?
It shows
micromanagement,
Yeah. Micromanagement shows up with constant asking questions, constant following behind what their employees are doing, asking redundant questions instead of listening to what the answers are. So that's kind of how it shows up, being overbearing on what the task and the responsibilities that their team members are doing because they're not trusting what their team members are doing the job. And so that, of course, leads top talent to lead. Absolutely. The being overbearing can be considered as being disrespectful, rude, These are how micromanagement shows up from your team members, if that makes sense.
Definitely makes sense. I've seen micromanagers and you can
Mhm.
just see it on their team's faces where it's like every time the leader is always coming around checking, hey, did you set the appointment? Okay.
Mhm.
Did you draft the email? Did you draft a report? Did you do this? And it's like the employee, you can see it in their mind. The employee thinking, I've done this 10 times. Like,
Yes.
come on now, you don't have to ask me about that. Ask me about something more high level. This task that you gave me is a routine basic task. Now, if you're giving me something that's more advanced,
Mhm.
definitely you would have a reason to come and ask me. But come on now, why are you nitpicking? It's like you want to irritate me, you know?
Yes. 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 And micromanagement definitely is a result, can be a result of burnout, because that leader is not confident in themselves because they're procrastinating. They are being impatient. They're not at their best. And they assume because they're not at their best, others are not at their best. Right?
Well said. They assume that others are performing at a 3 out of 10 like them because they're burnt out and their battery is drained, their mental
Yeah.
capacity is low.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, what's one simple shift leaders can make today to become more adaptable in uncertain times?
One of the biggest shifts that leaders can make right now, today, is to make sure you are exercising communication and listening skills in your business from your team. Not assuming, okay? Not assuming, but understanding and encouraging and enforcing that they have an open door policy so that they can see and understand when there is pushback, when there is burnout, when there is miscommunication in their teams. So things like doing a monthly forum, sharing a short survey with their team to find out how they're doing, what they could be doing better. Something quick, something simple, sent through email, something very quick, right? You don't need a whole 10 or 15 questions, but a quick survey. Communication is key during any time, but especially when employees and businesses are having to adapt quickly. You know, agility is something that not everybody knows about how to do in business. You know, it's something, it's a skill set. You know, you have to forecast and things like that. So agility is something that a lot of leaders are not accustomed to doing, especially quickly.
With that said, what's the one practice you recommend for consistently developing future leaders on a team?
Training and development.
There it is.
Training and development. Yes, yes. Letting your teams corroborate together, cross training. But training and development is key. And not only in non management, but in management. Absolutely. Training and development. It's ever, it's ever changing.
And I
Yes.
know you have years of helping in HR. So give us one of those, without naming names, one of those scary HR issues and problems that you had to solve.
So one particular issue I dealt with a client, one of my favorite clients, to be honest with you, was when there was toxicity in their business, and that toxicity showed up, and the management looked at it as if employees didn't want to do their jobs. Okay. What we did was went in and did an overhaul. We revamped that 276 page handbook, first of all, employee handbook. Okay, first of all. But we noticed that in surveying the employees, the leaders assumed that everyone was being treated correctly or fairly, let's say, put it that way. Once addressing and hearing what the employees were saying, leaders assumed that we're treating everybody fairly. In diverse workplaces, it's important that everyone is heard and that you are sharing the values, the culture of everyone. Everyone has showed up. Okay, everyone is recognized, right? So one way we handled it was doing diversity training so that the leaders knew exactly how to recognize everyone. And this showed up with doing once a quarter a cultural dinner, a luncheon, once a quarter.
Once a quarter. And how did that impact the team?
My goodness. It improved morale by probably more than 70%.
That's a big jump, 70%.
Yes, it did. It helped. And this is a team of about 70. And so it had a huge impact. So again, it's important that leaders reach out, survey your employees and your team members. Don't assume, okay? These are things you need to know.
There it is. So, April, if you could leave one final thought for leaders listening right now who want to lead with impact, what would it be?
Listen empathetically to your teams and communicate with your teams. Communication is a two-way street. You have to lead by listening and communicating. And it gets hard, but that is the one thing I would say. Lead to empower, lead to give for your employees to have a greater impact. So it's very important that leaders really empower their employees to grow their skill sets, to be who they are on the team.
Well said. I always say for new leaders, I say, here's what you should do. On a Friday, go around, talk to 3 employees and ask them, what are you going to do for the weekend? And then Monday morning, circle back to those 3 individuals and ask them how it went. You will be amazed how it changes the energy in the atmosphere, because when trust goes up, productivity goes up as well.
Yes.
April, people want to get in contact with you. How can they reach you?
Goodness, thank you. So you can reach me at all4hr.co. That is my virtual home, our website. You can also reach me at all4hrbiz.card, CARRD.O. That's my link tree. I am on LinkedIn at April Halliburton, and I'm on Instagram at all4hr. And on Facebook, we have a free Facebook group, which is the Human Resource Management HR Success Hub. Okay. We have 2 great webinars that are coming up in October. October is Disability Employment Awareness Month. And so this month, we're sharing strategies and checklists and all kinds of great things. Of course, welcoming your questions about workplace disability and inclusiveness. So we have a webinar on the 22nd, which is ADA and accommodations, what businesses need to know to stay compliant. And then we have our free webinar, which is Disability Inclusiveness Made Easy. And that is on the 29th of October at 11 a.m., both of them. And so if you want to know more information, go on over to the All4HR Instagram at All4HR and click the link in the bio.
All right. If you're ready to take the next step, book your free 30-minute executive reset coaching call with me. Link in show notes. Leaders, that's today's episode of the Lead with Impact podcast. Remember this, burnout is not a badge of honor. It is a warning sign. But with the right tools, you can recharge, reset, and lead with clarity. Until next time, keep listening, keep empowering, keep adapting, and keep developing. That's how you lead with impact.